Ecclesiastes chapter 4, and I shall read verses 9 and 10. Two are better than one, because they have a good return for their work. If one falls down, his friend can help him stand up. But pity the man who falls and has no one to help him stand up. Recently, a book which was designed for children caught my attention. It's entitled Winnie the Pooh and the North Pole. Its author, Christopher Robin, organizes a group of animals for a journey to the North Pole. Each animal makes its contribution to the joint effort. The preparations for the expedition proceed quite well. But there is one problem. No one knows where the North Pole is located, and no one knows what the North Pole looks like. It seems that the author, Christopher Robin, wants to convey to us the idea that this expedition is symbolic of our culture's quest for meaning in life. People are trying to find meaning in life. They're searching for truth, but they don't know where it is located, and they don't know how they can find it. We Christians have a guidebook, the Holy Bible, that tells us not only where we are going, but it also tells us how to get there. Early in his public ministry, Jesus chose 12 apostles. These men witnessed Jesus transform water into wine. They saw him feed thousands of people with 5 loaves and 2 fish. They were terrified when they encountered a fierce storm on the Sea of Galilee. And they were amazed at the way Jesus was able to calm the storm, prevent their boat from capsizing, and rescue them from drowning and walk on the water. They listened to their master attentively, although sometimes with confusion, as he taught them the wonderful truths that were applicable to their lives. They watched with apprehension how the religious leaders became increasingly agitated by the teachings of their master. They felt the tension escalating between their teacher and the religious leaders of his day. They were not certain what it all meant until in the Gospel of Mark chapter 8 verse 29, Jesus asked them, "What do you say that I am?" Jesus wanted to know his disciples' opinion about him. And then Peter, the impetuous disciple, answered, "You are the Christ." This is according to the Gospel of Mark chapter 8 verse 29. Christ means the anointed one. And it's the equivalent of the Hebrew Messiah. The word Messiah in Hebrew means the anointed one, And Christ also means the anointed one. So when Peter tells Jesus, "You are the Christ," he's acknowledging him to be the Messiah. It's like Peter telling Jesus, "You are the Messiah. You are the one our people have been looking for centuries." After Peter affirmed the true identity of Jesus, he revealed his human weakness by rebuking his master when he spoke about his future death and suffering. Peter could not embrace the idea that the Messiah had to suffer and die. Peter thought the Messiah came to rule, but not to suffer and die. There are times when Peter stood up as a stalwart of faith, and there are times when he expressed his unbelief and doubt. There were times when Peter showed unflinching courage, and there were times when he ran with fear. Peter shared the same struggles that you and I wrestle with every day. Peter is a model of all of us. Now in Mark chapter 9 verse 2, we read that 6 days after Peter affirmed Jesus' true identity, and after rebuking his master for talking about his future death and suffering, Jesus took him up along with James and John to a mountain where the transfiguration of Jesus took place. There, the full glory of Jesus' divinity was displayed. There the disciples realized that their teacher was more than a prophet, more than a human being, that he was divine. Then they heard God's voice from heaven telling them, "This is my son, obey him." This was a kind of rebuke to Peter, who couldn't embrace the idea that the Messiah had to suffer and die. Now God is telling Peter and the other disciples, you better listen to Jesus. You better listen to my son. And when we all listen to Jesus, we can never go wrong. It's when we turn a deaf ear to it that we begin to stray. Peter, James, and John did not go up the mountain by their own choice. We're told Jesus took them up the mountain. They didn't ask to be taken up the mountain. They didn't make an appointment. They just obeyed their Lord's command. Like Peter, James, and John, we are not perfect. We are a work in progress. The Lord is not finished with us yet. He's still chiseling away at the rough spots of our character. He is still refining us the way gold is refined in a furnace. Like the early disciples, we are on a journey of faith. But we have to remember the fact that we are not alone on this expedition. Jesus is our constant companion.
Amen.
A British writer and scholar called Ralph Keyes has written a book entitled The Lonely People. Of course, in his book, he indicates that the lonely people are the Americans. But in this book, The Lonely People, Ralph Keyes says, Americans value three things. And he mentions them: mobility, convenience, and privacy. And of these three, their most cherished value is privacy. I believe this is a correct description of our society and culture. Americans value mobility. Statistics tell us that the average American family moves from one city to another, or from one state to another, once every 5 years. Convenience. Look at the thousands of fast food stores that exist in this country. We all know that their food is not good. It's not healthy, yet we buy it because it's convenient. And privacy. The rich and famous people have their homes surrounded with pine trees so that no one can see them from the roadside. Yes, Americans prize their privacy. Now, it's good to have boundaries around you, but we should be careful not to take it to the extreme. Value privacy, but don't live in isolation. Prior to the 1500s, the Western culture gave more importance to community than to privacy. Prior to the 1500s, people derived their identity from belonging to a family, a clan, a tribe, a guild, an association, a nation, or a church. The wise King Solomon, in today's Bible reading, tells us about the danger of living in isolation. He says, two are better than one. If one falls, his friend will lift him up. But pity the man who falls and has no one to help him stand up on his feet. My dear friends, the Christian faith is not just a set of doctrines to be accepted. The Christian faith is not just a set of rules to be observed and followed. The Christian faith is not just a philosophy to be accepted. The Christian faith in its essence is a personal relationship with God. And this personal relationship with God is strengthened, enhanced, and nurtured in a community. Before leaving this earth, Jesus established his church as a community of faith. Someone has observed that when the Christian church started in Jerusalem, it was a community of faith. Then when it went to Greece, it became a philosophy. When it went to Rome, it became an institution. And when it came to America, it became a business enterprise. It's time that we strip the church from its business trappings and return it to its original state, which was a fellowship of believers. In our responsive reading, we noticed how the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 12 likened the church to a body that has different members performing different functions. And this body is called the body of Christ. The church is called the body of Christ. The Apostle Paul in Romans says the church is the body of Christ. And all of us are members of that one body. Every member is useful for that body, and every member contributes to the well-being of that body. There is no unimportant member in the body of Christ. The head of this body is, of course, Jesus Christ. And as long as we remain connected to Him, there will be no fractures within the church. And the body will retain its health, vitality, and vigor. It's when we drift away from Christ, it's when we lose our connection with the head, that this unity begins to emerge within our ranks. My dear friends, it's very, very important that we maintain our unity with our head, Jesus Christ. Otherwise, we'll wither and die. We're pleased today that our song leader, Ruth Kalustian, has agreed to sing a song for us in place of special music. And I believe she'll sing a hymn called Lord Make Me a Blessing. Okay.